everybody, welcome to Wild Boy Movies, the place to talk movies. And today, we're going to be reviewing The Dark Knight, what might arguably be one of the most iconic Batman movies that we have ever gotten. Right now, I'm going to have some information up on screen for you to read, like director, runtime, and PAA rating. All of that will be up on screen for you to read right now. But be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below your thoughts on The Dark Knight. But without further ado, let's get right into the pros. Starting off, I gotta go ahead and praise the cinematography for this movie, because visually, in terms of the Batman movies that we've gotten, this might be the best looking Batman movie that we have ever gotten. Like, some of the shots in this movie, even if I hadn't seen The Dark Knight, I can easily identify it as The Dark Knight from the cinematography. And I just really liked how Christopher Nolan shot this movie. And then speaking of Christopher Nolan, I also thought he did a very great job in terms of the directing of this movie. Like, there are a lot of interesting things that this movie puts up with, especially with the character of the Joker. Like, I really like how Nolan made Batman a grounded character and essentially asked the question like, hey, what if Batman actually existed in our real life? Like, that's the thing that I like about this Dark Knight trilogy, even though I've only seen one of the films in this trilogy, is the realism of this Batman trilogy and how this could be something that could happen in real life. I also gotta go ahead and praise the action in this movie because the action in here was done pretty well. Like, there were a lot of cool action sequences in the movie, particularly when Batman is fighting against the Joker's henchmen in the final battle of the movie. Batman was able to detect whether or not these Joker henchmen were actually henchmen or if they were hostages. And even the first fight that we get in the movie between Batman and Scarecrow, I also thought was very much well done, and made me really wish that we've seen a lot more of Scarecrow throughout the entire trilogy. Like, even the action sequences involving the Tumbler, I thought were some of like the best action that we've seen throughout all of DC. I also gotta go ahead and praise like the first 5 minutes of this movie because, man, is it very iconic. Like, it's basically like establishing the villain Joker and how much of a threat he could be in this movie. Like, I really thought they pulled off that opening bank heist very well, and it definitely set the tone of what we can expect in this movie. I also gotta say that Christian Bale in this movie does a fine job as Batman. Like, I know he's not like the best Batman, and in my opinion is like on the lower tier of Batman, but he does give a good performance as the character of Batman, as this guy who wants to stop the Joker and save Gotham. But in terms of the other Batman that we got, like Robert Pattinson, Michael Keaton, or even Ben Affleck, Christian Bale has to go in like the lower tier of Batman actors, but I still thought he did like a good job in this movie. But honestly, the biggest pro I can give this movie, and it should be no surprise, is Heath Ledger, because he does an amazing job as the character of Joker. In fact, he, in my opinion, is definitely a top-tier Joker actor alongside Zach Galifianakis and Joaquin Phoenix. In fact, he might even be better than those two actors because he really makes this version of the Joker very unique. Like, this Joker is very much intelligent. Like, he has backup plans in case of his main plan ends up failing. And in fact, I thought it was very genius of this version of the Joker to disguise the hostages that he has as Joker goons, as the police might go ahead and think that they are the henchmen and end up killing the wrong people. Like, that is the cleverness of the Joker, that something that I wish we could have seen in like Joaquin Phoenix. But also, I think that Heath Ledger does an amazing performance as this character of the Joker. Like, there are a lot of iconic and memorable moments of Heath Ledger as the Joker that definitely would warrant like me rewatching them in like a compilation, because it's just so good. And I even love how this version of the Joker looks like. And I even love how, even though this Batman universe is set to be as realistic as can be, they still do a lot of unique things involving with this Joker, particularly with the mouth scars that he has that we don't even know how he even got those. He constantly changes his backstory. Like, I can make a whole video dedicated to praising Heath Ledger as the Joker because he was that good in the role. But yeah, Heath Ledger was honestly the best part of this movie, and honestly, the most memorable part of the movie. So yeah, I really liked The Dark Knight. I thought it was a pretty solid film, another great addition to Christopher Nolan's lineup, but there were still some things holding it back from being a masterpiece or even an amazing movie, leading me to my cons. Alright, starting off, I gotta go ahead and talk about the pacing of this movie, because this is well over a 2.5 hour movie. So there are gonna be a lot of slower moments in this movie, and I felt like that was primarily the case towards the middle of the movie. Like, there were a lot of scenes that I felt like could have been cut short if they didn't decide to like drag it on. But I'm willing to categorize that as a nitpick because it is crucial towards the story of the movie, and I could sit through that boring exposition stuff if it means I can enjoy this movie and see a lot more of the stuff that I really liked in the movie. But honestly, the biggest con I have with the movie is the character of Two-Face. Now, I actually think he has a very unique design, and I thought he worked very perfectly in this realistic Batman world. But the reason why Two-Face is in the cons is because I feel like they don't do enough of the character. Like, I wanted to see a lot more of this version of Two-Face, maybe even him surviving by the end of this movie and him being a villain of The Dark Knight Rises. Like, I felt like there was a lot of potential that they could have had with this version of Harvey Dent. I felt like there could have been a lot of potential with this version of Harvey Dent, especially with his foreshadowing line of you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. It's just, I wanted to see a bit more of Two-Face in this movie. But even with those cons, I still ended up really liking this movie and definitely recommend that you guys give it a watch at least once in your life, because trust me, this is definitely a movie that definitely cemented itself into being one of the most iconic Batman movies of all time. So for my scorecard, I'm gonna give The Dark Knight 4 stars, with my score out of 10 being 8.7 out of 10, with the percentage being 87%, with a grade of B+, with my final verdict being one of the best Batman movies. But that was my review of The Dark Knight. I want to hear from you guys. What did you think about this Batman movie? Go ahead and leave your thoughts down in the comments section. And while you're at it, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. And have a great day.